Hey, what's up guys, and welcome back to this YouTube channel. It's your Calgary here. Today I'm going to tell you why you should not move to Calgary, because I've been dedicating my entire channel to telling everyone to move to Calgary. I made so many videos and I had so many comments saying stop bringing people here, stop recommending Calgary as a city. I decided to cover the negative aspect. I don't like talking about it, but I decided to make a video why you should not move to Calgary. Even though I'm a realtor with eXp Realty and I want you to move here and buy a house, but here's why: don't move here, okay? Don't move here. Reason number one, it's dry. So Calgary is the only city where I had to actually get used to applying a lip balm and a body lotion after a shower, where your hands dry and your feet get dry, because we don't have so much water here. The humidity levels are low. Unlike Ontario, where you set up dehumidifiers, here we set up humidifiers in our houses, so it is pretty dry. And also we have Chinook effect, where basically a hot wind from the mountains comes from the BC side here, and people with migraine, like my wife, she had trouble first few years in Calgary, but now she adapted and somehow everything is fine now. But initially she had some trouble with her migraine, and I had my trouble with my lips cracking and my skin being dry, but that's fixed now. Another part about this: airport connectivity. So guys, if you are into traveling and you are used to, let's say, traveling back to India, where you are from, for example, or any other country, you're an immigrant, you're used to have Toronto Pearson International Airport, where you just jump on a flight and you're back home on one direct flight. Unfortunately, Calgary has some direct flights to some countries, but not as much as like, for example, I went to my wife's country on vacation in India. We had to go either from Toronto or Vancouver or through the United States. So in that way, if it matters for you a lot, airport connectivity, even though we do have a major international airport and we do have direct flights to a lot of places, some places might not be there for you. So that's another thing to reconsider moving to Calgary. Finally, the weather is number three is going to be the weather. It gets cold, like -45 cold in winter. Now, luckily, because of the dry weather, it doesn't feel as cold as -45, let's say, in winter. So it gets that cold, but it's not as cold because it's not as humid. At the same time, guys, so it gets really cold in winter, so don't come here, guys. And who needs that kind of cold? Like, are we not in Canada after all? Like, Australia is way better in that sense. But anyways, enough sarcasm. In BC it's warmer. In Ontario it's doubtly. It was actually, from what I've seen, a couple of past winters, the weather here was actually better than in Toronto, I would say. But anyways, it gets cold here, so it's a stigma, so don't move here. I hope that answers that question. But besides that, another problem we have in Calgary, I'm going to try not to say anything good about Calgary in this video. I'm holding myself back because I made so many videos about it, is transportation. So if you come from another city, you're used to going on a bicycle, even though we have lots of cycling lanes and people are traveling like that on scooters and everything, but still, Calgary, if you look on the map, it's like, oh, it's not a big city, right? It's a huge city. People don't realize how big it is. So in reality, public transit here is, well, it could be better, mildly speaking. Some neighborhoods in Calgary are not even connected by the train stations. So, like, you could literally be in a neighborhood where you have to take your car to a train station, park it at the C train station, and take it where you have to go. So, like, you have to drive. So if you don't want to own a car, you don't want to live in Calgary, I would say. Well, if you're downtown, you could be okay, but in reality, most people have a car here. And if you don't want to have a car and still be able to travel throughout the entire city, Calgary might not be as accessible, as comfortable as some other cities out there, But in other ways, for myself, for example, I prefer having my own car and less traffic than in other bigger cities. But if you don't want to have a car, Calgary might not be the right city for you, because it's okay temporarily if you don't have a car, but it's best if you do have a car. Another misconception is I made a lot of videos about mountains. Mountains are not in the city. You actually have to drive at least an hour or so in order to get to the mountains. And I do that. I love long road trips and things like that. But if it's not for you, then it's not for you. Okay, next part about it is nightlife. So a lot of you who are coming from big cities, you're like, I want to nightlife and things like that. Well, guys, we do have it on the weekends, but then during the week, if you go to downtown and you're walking around the neighborhood and you're coming from one of the major big cities like Toronto or Vancouver, let's say you're coming to Calgary, it can look like it's died off. Like, you can go out and businesses are closed after 6 p.m. People are gone from downtown in the middle of the week. You want to have some fun, and there is no fun going on in that area. So there are nightclubs, there is nightlife, and I went into nightclubs here when I just moved, when I was a student. Now I just don't have time for this or desire, and that's not why I chose Calgary for party and things like that. I chose Calgary for family and for career and things like that. So in terms of nightlife, if you don't want to own a car, you want to have a nightlife, you don't like cold weather, you don't like dry weather, and you like suffering in traffic, like in other cities, because Calgary has less traffic, and you don't want to get paid a little bit more, then don't move to Calgary. Anyways, guys, because Calgary people do make a little bit more money. I'm not supposed to say anything good about Calgary in this video, but it is one of the best cities in Canada and one of the best cities in the world, and actually was rated as best city, better than the ones in other parts of Canada, and was number 3 with Vienna, I believe, rated last year in the world. But anyways, besides all of these things, don't move to Calgary, and if you do move, you know where to find me. Subscribe to this channel, follow me for more videos about why you should be moving to Calgary. And your guy Igor here is a realtor with eXp Realty in Calgary, Alberta, and my wife Nito Reltsev is a mortgage broker with DLC Clear Trust Mortgages, so she can help you get a mortgage to buy a house if you ever decide to actually move to Calgary. Anyways, all the contacts and the application that you can pre-qualify yourself for a mortgage will be in the description of this video. Follow me for more, subscribe. See you in Calgary.